Germany's Chancellor has, for the first time, publicly acknowledged that extremists could be taking advantage of the migrant influx to enter Europe. Over the past year, Angela Merkel's been repeatedly warned about the security risks of her open-door policy.
There are a number of terrorists who grew up in Europe, in Germany as well, who were then trained in Syria and came back, in part, even using the refugee flow to smuggle in terrorists. Those who flee misery, war, political oppression, we are responsible for helping them whether we want to or not.
The German Chancellor's words have surprised many, particularly since it was her who invited migrants and refugees to come to Germany and Europe.
Merkel, we love Merkel.
Merci Merkel! Merci Merkel! Merci Merkel! Merci Merkel!
She did enjoy the plaudits, though, even posing for the odd selfie. Despite repeated warnings from, well, pretty much everybody. We heard from Interpol, we heard from Europol. We also heard from the German security services themselves saying that there was a potential risk. And in fact, the German equivalent of the FBI in the United States had said that, as far as they knew, there were dozens of people who had come into Europe, had come into Germany as potential ISIS sleeper cells.
It is politically naive to deny that illegal, uncontrolled immigration is linked to an increase of terrorism. We need to change our policies on refugees.
Even warnings from her international partners were still ignored.
Europe faces the daunting challenge of mass migration, masking the movements of criminals, terrorists, and foreign fighters. Within this mix, ISIL or Daesh is spreading like a cancer.
However, she chose not to listen. She chose to follow those that followed her own beliefs.
What is not appropriate is associating the already difficult and still controversial debate on how we are to deal with the refugee crisis with what we are experiencing in the realms of terrorism.
Well, the German Chancellor is always a difficult one to read. And certainly people are going to be asking questions about this particular change of tack. What's coming next and what does she plan next? We all just don't know at the moment.
Our Europe correspondent there. Well, the Chancellor's concession regarding the terror threats led to more criticism in Germany. Some say Merkel's delayed telling the public the reality of the situation, while others see it as a desperate move to try to win back voters now.
Merkel is just waking up to the reality and to her policy of an open door. The borders were basically open, and there was a suspicion from the beginning that, of course, the IS would use the possibility to smuggle so-called sleepers into Germany or into Europe. And the connections to the terrorist attacks in Paris and in Belgium and Brussels proved this kind of suspicion.
I don't think there will change much because Angela Merkel has pushed the countries on the Balkans to close their borders, like Macedonia, like Serbia, Croatia, and so on. And I think it's a cheap propaganda trick to gain the votes of the right-wing voters back to the CDU, which the CDU lost to the AfD.